for us
You
to
understand?
on a busy street.
You're
He
on.
said, I remember.
Rabbi Yonason, can you please unmute yourself? Okay, you're
I
on.
am, yes, okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Who is
Salam Aleichem,
Oh,
family,
it's
Naveen, hello, Auntie Pearlie and Faggy, and Malcolm and Esther, and all the other family, David and Fran, and Uncle Toblobly and all the family. Welcome. Uchim Hanim Soim, all of you. Wonderful to see you all and be part of this wonderful family. Say a few words.
Feigenbaum, I don't know who that is. The Habashis we know.
Feigenbaum is on
Robert, could you please mute yourself? Thank you.
Okay. Someone turned around to me today and said to me, how come that all the tefillahs of Rosh Hashanah are really all about Mashiach and about Hashem? And all that's going on in the turmoil, the corona, the pandemic, here in Eretz Yisrael, it's turning out to be a little bit like a plague, lo yoleinu, chas v'sholom. And they're talking about closing the shuls even for Rosh Hashanah. The turmoil which is going on in the world and the people who are sick, lo yoleinu, it's where do we put our own requests, he turned around to me. What happens on Rosh Hashanah? Where do we fit them in? And really, it's a wonderful question, because in reality, if you look carefully at the prayers, at the tefillahs, they're all really talking on the one theme, and he's right. They're all on the theme of Mashiach, of Malchus Shamayim. And where is the shopping list? And I want to ask for my cousin who's not well, or a shidduch for my daughter, or parnasa for the family, all these different requests. Maybe you'll put them in Avinu Malkeinu, but that's not the main body of the tefillah. Maybe in Zochreinu L'chaim, but that's not the main part of the tefillah. Where does it go in? Where do you fit it in? How come it's all geared in one direction? And when we come into Shul on Rosh Hashanah, we really have a long list which we're thinking of. We're asking Hashem, Hayom Aras Olam, Hayom Yamid B'Mishpot, Kol Yitzurei Olam. On such a Yom Adin, it's a wonderful question, and everybody asks that question. Today, family, is the Yortzeit of the Chofetz Chaim, Zuchusei Login Aleinu. And I thought I'd bring a moshel from the Chofetz Chaim himself. He said a king on his birthday turned round to his court, all his ministers, and he said to them, because it's my birthday, I'd like to grant you all one wish. So there was a buzz around the court, and all the ministers started talking amongst themselves. And the first one came forward and said, Your Majesty, I don't know if you ever look down in the car park. You see that old jalopy down there? I can't drive that. King turned around and said, here's a grant for a new car. Next one came forward and said, Your Majesty, if you ever come to visit my home, I need home renovations. He gave him a grant for that. Each person, one asked for a holiday, and he gave him 2 weeks off in Florida. And everything was granted according to the lists of all the ministers. And they were so excited. Along came the last minister, and the king said to him, and what do you want? And he turned round and he faced the king, and he looked at him straight on. He said, Your Majesty, I really only want one thing, and that is that you should always be the king. What do you think? The king looked at him with such surprise, and everybody was astonished, and they saw that he really meant it. He wasn't bluffing. And he turned around and explained himself. He said, Your Majesty, you've always looked after me so well, and everything I've needed has always been provided by you. I ask you, carry on being the king. The king took hold of him by the arms and put him next to him, sat him next to him, and he became the closest confidant of the king, the closest friend. And the Chofetz Chaim turned around and said, and what do you think about his car or his home renovations or anything that he needed? Everything is taken care of by royal command. The point is, it wasn't an ulterior motive. He really meant it. And that's the point, says the Chofetz Chaim. When we turn around on Rosh Hashanah and we recognize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Melech, Hashem Melech, Hashem Moloch, it's all under his control. The corona is under his control. The economy, everything, the political unrest, it's all under his control. If we come to recognize that on Rosh Hashanah, everything else will be taken care of. And that really is the great challenge of Rosh Hashanah. We do have our shopping list, but put it aside. It's not that you can't daven. The Stifler has in a tshuva, I saw that, of course, one can ask. And also, Rav Shach said the same thing as well. You can ask, but that's not the main body of the prayer. You mustn't mess up and mistake the wood for the trees. The main theme is to be a genuine, sincere, honest Eved of the Melech, to come forward and ask for his own Malchus. And we should be as one group. It's interesting. Where does that come from? Where does that theme of Tefillah come from? The Chaim Badoshan explains in Nefesh HaChaim, it comes from Chana. The Pasuk says by Chana, Vatispalel al Hashem, not El Hashem, but Al Hashem. Al Hashem means for and on behalf of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. She didn't want a child to wheel a pram down the street and play on the carpet. That wasn't, she said, no, I want a child to serve you, Hashem. And that was her so genuine. She asked for something on a very high level. And the Anshe Knesset Hagdola pitched us very high on Rosh Hashanah. That's the level of the prayer. It's an extremely high level of prayer. The rest of the year we say, that's all the prayer. And we ask for ourselves. On Rosh Hashanah, we move up to a very high gear. It's top gear. It's a very, very holy mission. It's a very high privilege. And that's the nature of the prayer. It's true we have our lists, but we must forget them on Rosh Hashanah. And we think of Malchus Shamayim, and we think of Kavod Shamayim. I wanted to give you a moshel, which I thought of maybe from the Novi. I was thinking just an example of it. You remember the episode at the beginning of Malachim when David HaMelech was close to his last years, he's about to die, and Bathsheba came in, and there was a rebellion which Adoniyahu, one of the children, had wanted to take over after Absalom. He tried as well. And Bathsheba was concerned that Shlomo HaMelech should be the next king. David had said that. And now there was concern as who would carry on. And she asked the king who would be the king, and David HaMelech said it should be Shlomo to take over. He then called Nosson HaNovi, who was the Novi, Tzadok the Kohen Gadol, and Benayahu, who was the Rosh of the Sanhedrin, to come forward, and he asked them to take Shlomo HaMelech today, while the king was still alive, take him down to Gichon and anoint him, and you should say the following words, Yechi HaMelech Shlomo. And the king said, ride him on my horse, and he should be the king, and he found the shofar. Then, standing at the side of the room, was Benayo ben Yoyada. And Benayo Yoda said as follows, Vayomer, Amen, Kein Yoma Hashem Elokei Adoni HaMelech. What does he say there, Benayo, who was the Rosh of the Sanhedrin? And the Ralbag explained, this Amen was a tefillah. I'll read out to you the Ralbag. Sheyihye Rotzain Hashem Yisparach, Sheyihye He'inyan Kain. Let it be like that. It's all very well for David to say something. It's all very well that the council of the king should say that. If it's not from Hashem, then David can say what he wants if it doesn't come from Shemaim. I was thinking, that's really our mission on Rosh Hashanah. The world is so secular, and there's so much about evolution, and the corona was caused by a germ, but it's not. If it didn't come, it came from Hashem. And that's what we're doing on Rosh Hashanah. We're inserting the king into his dominion. We're putting him into his position. And that's the greatness of Klal Yisrael. We are bringing him in to the world that he created. He created it, Barosiv, Yitzativ, Afasitiv. He created it from nothing. He formed it. He maintains it. And the greatness of Klal Yisrael is to insert him into his world. I was thinking, isn't that what we do with the Chassan and Kala? Before the Chassan and Kala can go off and drive off into the sunset, what do we do with the Chassan? We stand them there and we say the following bracha, Sha'akol bara lichvoidoi. And the Mefarshim explain that inserts the Shechina into the wedding. It's not just the Chassan and Kala liking each other and having chilpah giddushim. You bring Hashem into the marriage, and that's what the mission is. The mission is not just a husband and wife, but the Shechina beinehim. I was thinking that's what we do every morning, no? When we get up and we say, Al Natilas Yodayim, we're bringing Hashem into the world. And the greatness of Rosh Hashanah is that we fulfill this mission. We carry this on. The idea that Hashem is the Melech, and he is in control of all that's going on in our families, all that's going on in our people, in Klal Yisrael, around the world, in the economy, and all the problems that we have. The role of Rosh Hashanah is by Yehi B'Shurim Melech, V'Yisasef Roshei Om, Yachad Shivtei Yisrael. We should come to recognize that. And it's a unique role. Almost all the other nations don't have that. They don't. What are they doing in Hollywood? They're making movies. What are they doing in New York? They're saying Black Lives Matter. No. What's Trump doing? He's twittering. Everybody's doing other things. No one knows what goes on. Ashrei Ha'am, Yoda Esua, Klal Yisrael, know what's happening on this day. We realize that there is a Melech. I saw a beautiful mimer of Ahutna. He asks, what's the difference between Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu and Malchus on Rosh Hashanah? And Rav Hutner explains, every other day we're Mekabel Shem Shamayim. We're Mekabel it. Says Rav Hutner, Rosh Hashanah is much more than that. We are Mamlich HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We recognize the source of everything, and everything comes from him. And that's the greatness of the mission of Rosh Hashanah that we have. And that's what we must try and achieve. I don't know where you daven on Rosh Hashanah, but where I daven nearly always, they say, Perek Kaf Daled of Tehillim, before davening on Rosh Hashanah, always. Lashem ha'oretz u'meloteva v'yoshveva. And it's about the establishment of the world. What's the key psukim there? Miyale b'har Hashem u'miyokum b'mkoim kodshai. It's not that the world is created and the inhabited areas and uninhabited areas and the rivers and the valleys. That's for National Geographic. For us, miyale miyokum. We look for more. Mavakshe Hashem. And that's what we're doing on Rosh Hashanah. It's a much higher level. It's true, there isn't really a shopping list. But if we come sincere and genuine, and we mean it when we say it, without an ulterior motive, everything else will be taken care of by royal command. If only we can do that, and we'll be benched, all of us, with a Shana Tova. David, you should only send messages of brachas and simchas this year. No more sick people. Everybody should have a refuah shalema, all the family together, and we should say simchas and nachas together. If we can be avodim of the melech and be ne'emanim. I wish you all a wonderful, good year, a good Yom Tov, Shana Tova, Tikaseiv.
Shkoyach, thank you very, very much. And we wish you arichas yamim and nachas and good health for the whole family. And thank you very much for the words of chizuk.
Thank you,
I'd like
David.
to now introduce, continuing on the great tradition of our great-grandfather, Rabbi Yitzchak Gershon Wolf, Chazan Moshe Wolf, who is I believe he's the Chazan at Heichal Shlomo in Yerushalayim. And we've been invited to a number of his performances for Kabbalah Shabbos, and he's graciously agreed to give us a couple of pieces for Yom Tov. And I'd like to introduce Moshe.
Hello, everyone. I would like to sing this most amazing tefillah. If you have a machzor, Yom Kippur machzor, so you can see this at the end of davening after Al Chet. There's the most beautiful tefillah that's brought in the Gemara Brochus, Daf Yud Zayin. It's a tefillah of Rava used to daven this tefillah every day, and Rav Amnuna used to daven it on Yom Kippur, and that's what we daven also on Yom Kippur. And it was composed by Yossele Rosenblatt, and it's the most beautiful piece for Yom Kippur. If you have a machzor, just the end of Tfilas Lachash on Yom Kippur. Eloi kai ad sheloi noetzarti ad